learned to live in an alternative way. I learned to be self-reliant from a young age. I learned that people and situations can be transient, yet nature is a constant. I learned that others use their vision to tell them about the outside world, while I used my intuition and other senses. I learned that the world was bigger than any problem that presented itself. I also learned that people's poor decisions don't define who they really are. A part of me would love to call the unsighted world the world of insights. Living without functional vision really does give you insight into the real meaning of life. The bridge between the sighted and unsighted world can be rickety. Many people may go from being sighted to losing their sight, remaining permanently on the sight loss side of the bridge. Only a few cross into the visual world after surgery. Yet, on whichever side of the bridge we dwell, I know there's a whole world surrounding us, and it's full of happiness, should we choose to embrace it. I've lived my life in the unsighted world, but for 4 months I lived in the middle of that bridge. After surgery in my right eye, I gained a little more sight. It was not functional vision, but for the first time ever, I was able to make out faces. I could see the ophthalmologist and my partner. Close up, I could see the shape of their eyes, their nostrils, and the outlines of their mouths. I then found I could kind of read the sign on the front of the bus, although it was still more guesswork than precision. I remember thinking, this is a taste of what it must be like to see. It was not easy to get used to, as the contrast between the two eyes was immense. Seeing with my right eye was like looking through a warped telescope rather than a blurry veil. I was in a hall of mirrors in a sensory-filled fairground where ants appeared 2 feet tall and sticks looked like tree trunks. Confusion was an understatement, but at least the experience gave me a little clarity around what it was like to live with sight. Later, I discovered that the surgery had caused irreversible damage, and this meant that I now had reduced vision in an already blurry world. I underwent another operation to remove my lens implant, which meant reverting to my old way of life. As mad as this may sound, my reduced vision meant sinking into a more blissful existence. After dipping a toe into the sighted world, I was glad to return to the safe world I'd grown up in. Living without much sight in a sighted world felt like I was an undercover detective casing the place for clues on how the sighted lived. I figured cracking the code to living life in the sighted world lay in observing these miraculous people in covert ways. The things I learned from their way of life made me question my way of seeing the world in which we coexist. Disability and adversity can allow an individual to develop abilities that can take them to a whole new realm of existence. My new realm was that of pure beauty. So I began to focus on how I experienced the world in comparison to others. Apparently, people can see ants walking on the concrete, birds flying in the sky, and even individual blades of grass. I can only translate this as grey underneath their feet and floaters in their eyes, a blue haze above their head when they look up, and a blanket of green that never ends. They talk about how cars look different, houses have character, and ducks swim on water. I think they mean blurry, noisy covered engines zooming past on a dull surface, shadowy, stationary colours that feel odd or inviting, and that running water must be hitting something to make those quacking noises. The world is a mysterious place. At what point is it acceptable to stop sighted people in their tracks and ask, "Are you hallucinating?" These are the same people who can find a glass on a table with eyes, not hands. These are probably the same people who recognise a person by sight and not sound. There are others who read subtitles on a film at a cinema and not need auditory description.